Welcome to the Confessional Close-Up. My name is Christine Cisneros, and I'm so pleased that you are joining me here. Well, I am so pleased today. We are blessed in a dual, with such duality, because we have two of some of the greatest people that I know on YouTube, and also on different recordings. I know that Laura Walker, at least right now, is on Patreon, and she will be moving along. I think on your own channel, is that it? Is you'll be putting out your information on your own website? Is that from, I think, maybe December on? Is that correct?
Yeah, actually, yes, everybody. That's going to start actually in the next couple of weeks. And it basically leaving and going to private server, partially in protest of everyone being taken down and deplatformed over there, and to ensure that we have complete independence.
Very good. Yes. And what I love about what you've provided since, I think, August, maybe July, is a day-to-day report on the energetics, where we are, where everything is lined up, and basically, what the tides are. I mean, that's how I see it. What are we actually moving through energetically? Not because that will predetermine our outcome or our destiny or anything like that, but it does give us some idea of what the weather is and what we're going to be dealing with when we make our moves. And we also know that there are seasons. There's you plant things in a certain time. You would never try to harvest anything in the winter, or plant anything in the winter. Farmers have seasons that they abide by, natural law, God's law. And these are also part of the seasons that we move through periodically, cyclically. And it's good to know what they are, because it might just help you in what you're going to do next. So, of course, as you can tell, we have Laura Walker on the call today, on the tube today. And we also have the great Phoenix of Patriot Intel Report. And it's just such a pleasure to have one of these people. And I am very kind of overwhelmed a little bit to have both of them, because these are people that are they really are quite prolific, and they are giants, because they've been doing it a long, long time. And people like myself have been very inspired and able to see things a little more clearly because of them. So thank you guys for being on. Thank you, Phoenix. And I know that you have had some issues with YouTube recently. You've talked about that, but could you just say a little bit about that now? Because I think it's a good thing for us to bring out in the open.
Alrighty, I will do that. Christine, by the way, thank you very much for inviting me to join you both today. It's a pleasure. I have interviewed Laura quite a few times, and had the pleasure to be on your program out in Seattle there, and some of your calls here on YouTube, and it's always fun. And you said the great Phoenix. Nah, not so great. But I tell you what, you are Seattle's best. Ha, got your back.
No benchmark there.
Seattle's best. Anyway, yeah, the YouTube situation I came under today is the 5th of November. I actually had a video removed well over a year ago. They gave me this warning and all of this. And yeah, so they went out and pulled one of my videos, said it was because of hate speech, quote, right? So I listened to the whole thing. It wasn't long. And like, you got to be kidding me. There's nothing hateful. I mean, nothing abrasive at all in anything I said. I did have some interesting visuals on there, though, and it was a lot of cue imagery. I think I did mention something about Zuckerberg, but it wasn't anything, hateful or anything. So it's very, very interesting to see I'm in their target and on the crosshairs, and I've escaped that thus far. And there's a secret why I have done so, and you both know it, and nobody else will. I'm not going to say it out loud, but it was like a little override of AI, the artificial intelligence they use. And I think what happened, there was a massive purge on YouTube, and a lot of people, lost their channels. They were gone, all their content. And, people are saying, wow, Phoenix, can't believe you're still here. Oh my God, you're still here. Some people actually said almost everyone they subscribed to was gone except me. And, it's like, how did you do it? Well, I'm not going to say, but apparently what happened was YouTube now, since the AI did their job, they still are getting indications that there's people out there that they don't approve of, if you will, what we say. And they are manually doing it now. And they had someone manually go back, and they had to go all the way back, almost 2 years ago, to find something that they thought they could deem hate speech, which, and again, it was visuals, if anything. And I think that had to do with a certain letter of the alphabet, the 17th letter. I won't say it on your program. I don't want you to get bumped or anything, but I say it all the time, every day. But yeah, I'm getting ready myself with a private channel. It's patriotintelreport.com. Not a lot of activity over there yet, but we do have some tabs on there. I'm going to start putting my backup videos over there. So, and it's just like what Laura's doing on a private server, and it's hosted actually by Bob Gilpatrick. He actually had done that because we talked about the possibility of censorship in the future, and we didn't want to lose our platform. So we actually came up with an alternative thing there, and it's basically been kind of static, but we are going to start using it. So yeah, the censorship that we've witnessed, YouTube, Twitter, Patreon now too. Laura, when I found out that they were going after people on Patreon, I'm like, you got to be kidding me,
Yeah.
your content's in danger, and we have to protect ourselves from this one way or the other. So anyway, that's basically it. That's what's going on with it. Hasn't happened yet, but I know it's just a matter of time.
Well, we're so grateful also, Phoenix, because one of the reasons that you've been able, and me too, to maintain for so long is you didn't monetize on YouTube, and your supporters and the listeners and everyone that loves you, comes to the rescue, just like with me. And more than that, they're part of it. We are, we work together to produce beautiful frequencies and light in the world. And that's the grassroots, and that is the power, and that is where everything is happening now to re-empower everybody. And so we're not victims anymore. We're going to other places, and because the support is there, thank you everybody, we're able to do that, and we couldn't without everybody.
Oh, exactly, 100%. And I always say thank you, thank you, thank you to all of those who have done so, and all of those whom will, because it truly has been listener supported. Yeah, I get some stuff from our sponsor, Bob Gilpatrick, but that's only, we do the Patriot Intel health report every 2 weeks, but it's people, our listeners, our friends, that they keep us going, you and I both. And also Christine. Christine, we all help each other out. Thank you very much, Christine. And, people need to extend this over and really start giving Christine on this channel here a lot of support, because man, she's been at it for years, people. Christine has been in the trenches, baby. She's been out in Seattle, Washington, right
Yes.
in the middle of it all. My God, Christine.
I have plenty of toilet seat covers, but yeah, I've been out here.
Oh my God. Let's see, where can I go to be the most freaking dangerous and controversial place to say, hey, I support President Donald Trump? Oh yeah, Seattle, Washington. Oh my God.
Well, I'll tell you something about that though, just to sort of interject there. I was at Costco last night, and I love it because I don't wear my mask. I need to stop saying that. It's not my mask. I don't wear that mask anywhere. I don't wear a mask. And if you go into Costco, and it's just like you told me really early on, you just say, look, it's a health condition. I want to stay healthy, right? They don't follow you. They don't harass you. So a lot of my shopping is at Costco. But I went in last night, and I've been wearing my Trump. I have a Trump shirt. We went out and bought 2 new guns a couple of weeks ago, and they were giving away Trump shirts with your purchase of, I think $100 or more, $200 or more, something like that. Anyway, we easily got that. So I was wearing my MAGA hat and my Trump shirt last night, and, you know, I got a couple of looks, but there was a woman who worked there, and she said, please, what do you think about what just happened?
Oh, she wanted someone to share with.
She looked so sad, like, oh, Kitty, it's okay. So I said, listen, you want some comfort? And she said, yes. And I said, well, let me tell you something. Don't worry. He's taking care of it. It's going to go to the Supreme Court, and we're going to find out everybody that was involved in that. And that is how things change. And she goes, oh, thank you, thank you. I just really needed to hear that. And what I have to say is that that was because of you guys. That is because of you and Laura. And I really want that to sink in, because if you didn't do the work that you've done, people like me would have been like that woman at Costco. And so our job is to take the information that we get and to make sure that we understand what it means. And our job is to turn around immediately and serve the world with it. And I would not be able to do what I do if it hadn't been for you two. And that woman at Costco, she would have been like, she doesn't know who you are, you know, but she knows now what I know, and I know now some of what you know. And that is truly how we serve each other. And that's how you've been serving the public for so long.
Well, thank you for the kind words. You know, this is going to, I believe, rapidly accelerate. Everybody is going to be interlinking, where it's kind of been the silent sleeping giant. It's not going to be silent anymore. And this is, you know, what Phoenix and I talked about last week, or I think it was, or maybe the week before now. Wow. You know, how everyone was going to re-empower and unite. That's exactly what's happening, despite all of the censorship and everything that's happening. The Stop the Steal movement is one of it. It's really, to me, it's just people that, the first people who are brave, the trailblazers like you, that were brave enough to, because that, not wearing your mask in Costco in Seattle is, you know, like, you just earn massive cred there, because that's crazy.
Yeah, and then throw a MAGA
Yeah.
hat on and a Trump shirt.
Right.
Seriously.
But see, I mean, it's some kind of like billboard that you could be a target, but it's also a billboard for those who really, really could use some really good comfort and information.
Yeah.
Yes, but it's going to be faster, and I believe the spiritual effect of it is, you know, around the passage of scripture about where two or three unite, I am in the midst. Right? This is this. I think it's Matthew. That's where the power is. It's the grassroots power. You know, I come from a grassroots nonprofit professional world, and I've been applying that work. I was a rape counselor, and I've been applying that so much lately over on my sites. And this I can see it, the parallels between the trauma of a sexual assault victim and the trauma of what we have all been through with the pandemic, and now with this. And it is really about, now we go into this empowered place, and people are not going to be afraid, because everyone is coming now, because very soon everyone's going to understand that it's not a left, right, Democrat, Republican issue. This is a we the people issue versus the New World Order issue, and the New World Order via China, and everybody who is silent right now in Congress and all of that. It is exactly what is showing out who is bought and paid for and who isn't, so everybody can see.
Yeah, and I hope that all the people that were that you were under surveillance of your shows, Phoenix, I really hope they got some good red pilling going on.
Well, you know, I used to wonder sometimes, like, maybe like some of the people who, you know, were like tasked to take down channels. Maybe a couple of them like, man, that's pretty cool. I'm going to hang in there with this and kind of pass me over, like give me like, I'll go on to the next channel and ban them. I don't know, because the message is for everyone. Okay. This isn't about Republican, Democrat. This is about us, people, human beings, free, sovereign human beings, and how, the entire process has been hijacked by evil people of ill intent, people who are greedy, people who want to control others, and it's on both sides of the aisle, everyone. There are never Trumpers. There are, what they call rhinos. These people are not in it for the good of the public. They're in it for the good of them. And it's basically a criminal enterprise that we've seen develop right here in the United States, in the United States government.
Yeah, sometimes I like to think of the surveillance like in the 70s when you'd watch shows and the cops are sitting there drinking coffee that is really bad, and they're eating sandwiches and they're watching an apartment building or something, but it's not as cute as that, right? And what I'd also like to say is that what you're talking about, the rhinos, I just learned recently what that actually meant. I just thought it meant that they had been in office forever like Biden, but it actually means, rhino means Republican in name only.
Yes. Now, what you're thinking of, you thought a rhino referred to what we call dinosaurs,
Yeah.
because like these reptilians that are so old.
Yeah,
and
they're just crusty and weird.
and growing so big on the taxpayers' dime. Yeah, the dinosaurs. They need to go the way of the dinosaurs.
Oh, most definitely. But I think at this point, Patreon, Parler, BitChute, people are reporting problems with a lot of those things. And, I just got my website done, which I never had a website really the entire time I was on the air at the station for 9 years. But now I have a website, and I'm so grateful. I feel like the direction, God has given us all just such pristine direction. And sometimes you don't know why am I getting this message? Why do I feel like this is the time? Why am I meeting these people? And I would invite all the listeners that are listening right now to look at your life and to look at maybe some things that are showing up that you might be a little puzzled about, like, why is this showing up right now? And what you can kind of know is that is really that is a part of how that great outpouring of abundance, and whether it's monetary or spiritual, that wealth that we talk about, that's not just being rich, the wealth of your health, the wealth of your money, the wealth of your happiness and what you are here to experience, that is part of it, because we are moving into these times where things are going to change, and in the change are the new ways that are coming. But we have to remember, it's like that song that says, everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die, right? And some of these things have to die. They have to go away, because you cannot park two cars in the same spot. We are looking forward. And when you guys talk about what you've done and the support you've gotten from your listeners, that is real economy. That is clean economy. And that is the mean machine that we are coming into in this new time. And so when you support people, and I feel relieved when I have people that I can support. I feel relieved that there's somewhere to park my money or my time or my energy or whatever it is that I can contribute to keep that big wheel turning. What the listeners can know today, you guys, is that these people are a sure shot. You want to invest in the right thing. They are the real thing. They are sure shots. And you can just be relieved that you can be a part of that. Because if you really look at it, however this shakes up and the twisty turns and the switchbacks that we have to do before we get to where we are, probably operating on all cylinders again, what you can know is that these people are going to be there, and they were there, and they're here now. And people like Phoenix, people like Laura, I would say even people like myself, who are now waking up and seeing that this is such a relief to have people to help, because that is really what I hear most of. What can I do? What can I do? What can I do at this time? And because it's such a big time, what can I do? And this is one of the things you can do. It truly is.
Exactly. I've mentioned that to my listeners too. And it is, a lot of people, I mean, we have people all over the world. And here's the situation. We have listeners, Laura, myself, and you, Christine, from almost every continent. And they're very wonderful people. And the world, people don't realize how much the rest of the world is very concerned about what's happening in this nation right now. And they feel almost like hopeless. And what can they do? And, they throw a coin here and there. They toss a coin. They help out in however whatever small amount they can, and they've actually done something. They have actually physically done something energetically, and through this monetary gift that helps empower the truth to get out to everyone. So it is a way for people to help. And some people, the thing about it is, some people feel like or financially they can't do anything. That's cool. They can help by being the best that they can be, to be healthy, to not be fearful, to be there for others, because they will get information that we share with them, and they'll be able to share it with their family. I cannot tell you how many times I've had listeners reach out to me and say, like, oh my God, thank you so much. I sent this video to my family because they were all freaking out. No one's ever heard of you, but thank you so much. You helped calm them down. And so they can help also by sharing, liking, sharing, subscribing. It sounds kind of cliche. People hear that, people say that all the time, but it spreads the word. And this is like light. And this light that we are all trying to, amplify in our hearts and through our work. The more this light spreads, the more the darkness is dispelled, because this is the thing, the evil that we're up against right now. Does not like the light. It dwells in darkness. It loves the darkness. It doesn't want to be seen. And when the light of the truth, the illumination of the truth comes out, it runs, it flees, it destroys the those that dwell in the darkness. So people can help that way also, is by just like getting the word out, saying, hey man, listen to Christine Cisneros, check this out, listen to Laura Walker, read what she has to say, or my program, or any program that does it for you. Because that's the thing, we all have different styles, we talk about different things, and some things resonate with some people and others with others, and but there are people out there, all kinds of people who are doing the work. And it's like you said earlier, Christine, it's growing. It's growing. And just by listening and being part of it, you are part of the army, the spiritual warriors that are battling this darkness, just by giving your time and listening, throwing a couple coins here or there, or just sending it over and liking and sharing it, put it on your social media. You never know who the light will bring warmth to, comfort, and possibly drive the darkness from their mind and their heart, this darkness that the media is like trying to pour upon the people right now. This is what it's all about.
Well, and I think you made such a good point there about that. That this is what you can do, because it's like a probiotic. You're not going to go out and kill anything. Nobody's going to, probiotics don't kill anything. They just crowd out whatever is there, and the salinity and the alkaline environment spiritually that we can create will actually, starve off any of these germs or viruses or whatever that are always hungry for that acidic and dark agenda. You crowd them out. And and the thing I would say too is that win or lose, what we perceive as winning or losing, this election is such a huge example of that. Win or lose, will you be okay with what you did when it was important to do it? And that is truly the way that you can actually be tired in a clean way, instead of an anxiety-filled. And I also think that when people listen to you, and I'm always moved to see what I can do and where I can kind of fill in, because I don't like that feeling of just receiving. That is not the natural law of God. That is not circulation. It's the circulation of you receive and then you give, and you receive and then you give. But if you're just receiving all of the time, you are robbing yourself of the joy and the deep experience of that law of circulation and the multiplying of what it is that you want.
Mm.
Laura,
Well,
you said you were going to say something. Laura, tell us.
I was just thinking about how, we always hear that we are now in an information war. This is an information war, and it is, but at a higher level, it's a frequency war. You can look at it that way. And so when everybody thinks about, it was like, okay, what can I do? And as people with natural leadership skills, will find themselves divinely inspired to take certain actions, for, just for the world at large. But really, what the most important thing, I think, is take care of your own frequency. So if you can keep yourself and your frequency in a very grounded, solid, objective, sober state, and on the more cheerful side of that, with great hope, because there's every reason to be hopeful, and that's just the bottom line astrological truth of that. But if you can keep your frequency in a range, that's really the most important thing.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have the parking space for the good. And that's what that frequency is about. So, we always prepare. I love how Phoenix, you help us to prepare if things get rough. I've taken many tips from you. You've reminded me of other things that I used to know. You've given me information that I wouldn't have thought of. And what we can remember about all of this as we tie it together is that these hard times and these tides that are going to be rough, we're in our little, 3-hour tour, right? Maybe not, maybe it's longer, but in the Minnow, in the USS Minnow, and we're going along. And the thing is we must remember at all times, why are we doing this? Are we doing this to get better, to get really good at suffering? Are we doing this to get good at just always being at battle? Are we doing this so that we can be really good at operating though we had trauma? No, we are getting good at what we're doing because we are looking forward. As the scriptures say, it is God's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. But we must be ready for that. And I love what you just said about frequency, because if we tune in, you want to hear country music, you turn on the radio, you're listening to some 70s rock, you're like, no, I just want to hear country music. And you turn the dial. I can't imagine why you would do that, but you would turn the dial, turn the dial, turn the dial until you found the frequency that's playing the music you want to hear. And then you fine tune it so that you can hear it to the best of your ability. And if we fine tune this frequency into what God actually has in store, because nothing's going to stop it. Nothing's going to stop what's coming. And I love how you guys talked about on your last show together about the difference, what is this pressure, the dentist, the analogy of the dentist working and repairing. And the deal is that, I remember going to a dentist once who said, I want you to really think about this. When I get in here to do this thing with your tooth, are you feeling pain or are you feeling pressure?
Mm-hmm.
And I think right now we're feeling a lot of pressure, and yes, there is some pain, but we must remember the difference between the two. We must understand what we are dealing with, and we must remember why we're dealing with this, because what is going to happen out of all of this is an entirely new way of experiencing our lives in this country. And that is just unbelievably exciting. Don't you think?
I agree. It definitely is. And, the whole frequency aspect of this, and the way that people can really kind of vibrate with that, if you will, no pun intended, is to have the attitude of gratitude, truly. And how do you do that? You visualize the outcome and goodness, and to the point where you have received it already and you feel grateful for it, this wonderful thing. And you actually start emitting from your heart that vibration of gratitude. And that's a really high and good vibration, to be thankful and joyful. And I tell you what, that's a real trick. That is a trick that you have to work on, because we are not taught from childhood forward to do that. There's so much kind of preloaded negativity, fear, pain, and doubt that comes into society. The archonic or demonic forces have designed it that way, I guess. part of our life school experience. But once we overcome that and learn to have gratitude and joy in our hearts, even when things on the outside look totally different. And that is a skill set. And that's how that vibration that Laura's talking about becomes very, very effective. Just say no to the fear. And all the stuff we're seeing in the press right now in the world, you know, it's an illusion. It's an illusion. I mean, it's really happening, but it's being portrayed in such a way that they're attempting to deceive people, and they're hiding things from people too. So a lot of people right now are very, very stressed on both sides. And I was having a discussion this afternoon with some friends, and we have observed people on both sides of the political spectrum totally stressed out, because even the people who are Biden supporters, they are, you know, they don't know what to think either, and they're stressed out. So the level of stress is very pretty much equal on both sides, the Republican and Democrat, and but of
They're
course,
just people in general.
yeah, but me being an independent, yeah, it doesn't bother me, because like I'm an independent. But no, I'm all for the good of this, and joking aside, yeah, people in general, it's bothering everyone. And
Mhm.
it's palatable. You can go out, you can see it. People are just like you were saying, Christine, earlier, people are like really beside themselves over this. It's quite a thing to witness. And it doesn't have to be that way,
Well,
people.
and it's also the artificial inflation of the expectations of things that are built on falsities. And so once that's ripped away, people are like, wait a minute, how did we get here? And when you guys talk about trauma, and I know, Laura, you've talked about the trauma that we've come out of, this faith thing and the good, the not living from fear, say no to fear, all that, it really requires action. It requires, and I often say this because this is really kind of a big focus for me right now, and that is your relationship to God and your relationship to your faith. To your faith. You would never say, oh, my best friend is Susie. Oh, really? Oh, okay. Well, when's the last time you had lunch with Susie? Oh, I don't have lunch with Susie. I send Jimmy to do that. You would never have a relationship with someone that way. And so when we don't have that relationship with God, and we don't have the relationship with our faith, in order to build it so that when you need to use that muscle, it's there. It is there. If you don't build the muscle, if you don't build the frequency, if you don't go like that tracer liquid, that they put into you to find out where the cancer is or where the infection is or whatever. Have that in yourself. When you looked at that electoral college light up on the screen, you could see the tracer in there and finding out where the infection is. Okay. And if you do that with yourself, what you'll find are the areas that are calling out for that love, that are calling out for that care and for that exercise of that muscle of faith in that area. Because I think that there's so much built up around like, oh, we can just, just say no and just move along and, you'll be fine. And most people, the reason that they cannot move into the new time, in some ways, I think, and I include myself in that, is because if you don't have the mental equivalence to that, you have not built that mental equivalence to expect the kingdom, then what you're left with is your old way of expectation, your old way of thinking about how to do it, that it's all you, and the old way of that it is not a cooperative effort, that it's every man for himself or herself, every woman for herself, whatever, every person for themselves. And that is the lie. The lie has always been, especially with the social distancing, the masks, all of it. It's there to give you a visual cue that you are alone and you don't deserve to be here because you are dirty. You are spreading disease and you need to be dealt with. And we don't need to spend our times being detectives about that. We need to spend our time, more of the time, being detectives, looking for the good and how to harness ourselves to it and let God pull us to it, instead of looking at all the bad and trying to figure out how you're going to clean up all this mess. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously that's going to happen, but we cannot possibly change all of that. What we can do on an individual level, and I love what you were saying about that, to not live in that fear, because that is the probiotic. We are the probiotics for this new time. Don't you think, Laura?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I think first of all, I don't think a psyche could come through this singularity, this point in time, intact without a higher power to keep your psyche intact. And secondarily, there is no reason to fear with this, truly. And this is because the grassroots has the moral high ground. And that's all we have to stand on, and that's all we need. That and a higher power, that's it.
That's right.
Very
God
true.
is always in control, and God always wins. And if we want to experience that winning on the degree that we are designed to experience it, then this is the time to build those areas that are perhaps a little bit vulnerable in ourselves for many reasons, for whatever we've been conditioned. I know there's a lot of focus on that too, that there's all that conditioning. Yes, it's true. So what can we do? Because we still retain this beautiful design that we've been given as a human to actually tune into it, tune into the frequency and work and move according to that frequency. This communism of the soul, this communism of the spiritual communism that has taken place literally in churches, in religion, in pastors, in, of course, the Vatican, but, trickle down, in politics, in families. I have seen so many families turn on each other right now.
Oh yeah, that's
And
big.
that is the most disturbing thing, because this country is the world, but this country, we're talking about our country right now a little more, because this country is not made of politicians. This country is made of people, and everyone has someone that they love. Everyone has, they came from some family somewhere, and we are not, this isn't an accident. You're so correct, Laura, when you say, we have come here, we've been called here, we are here we are. And this is the time to connect with that which is eternal, not that which is furniture.
Yes, and I think our role in that is to surround and push into it. When you were talking about you're envisioning the cops with their donuts and all of that, it reminded me one time I was doing a ride along with some cops in Northern Virginia, Metro DC, and lo and behold, a chase ensued, a police chase.
Wow.
And so I'm in the back. And usually when there's somebody on ride along, whatever, they don't really let them get involved in anything, but it just so happened to be the location of where we were. They want, usually they don't bring civilians through that kind of thing, but kind of like everybody knew me anyway, so whatever. But so it was interesting to be on that side of it, watching that. And so as they're following this car, because it wasn't like a super high speed chase, but it was just kind of a medium speed chase through the different counties. And when we got to when the county I was in picked up the chase, going through that county, and when they were getting ready to hand it off to the next county was about 30 miles outside of DC. And we would say it's more MAGA. So MAGA would begin there, basically, in Northern Virginia. Is a little more rural for that region. And when they passed it off, when he was getting ready to cross the county lines, the deputy said, from the county that was getting ready to receive the chase, said he was in God's hands now. And he was, because they were ready. And I kind of see that, because in order to hold people accountable, we're going to chase you down. We're going to do this because there are things and crimes that have been committed that are inhuman. And this ends now. This is the time. This always was going to be the time it was going to end. They know this. The astrologers of the Illuminati are very aware of the shift in the spiritual nature. And so now, in my mind, we just keep pushing with from the place of truth and love, which is where I always am coming from and try to talk about. And God's going to take care of the rest. We do our part. We're going to take it all the way there, and then because we have partnered in this, really, I believe.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. And I heard somebody say this once, if we, when people do wrong, there's even like, I love you and you're going to jail. And, the spankings are going to be real. I mean, we're going to see things that, we probably would shrink back a little bit. And I think what's really interesting to me about the work you do and sort of the cleanliness with which you do it, the pure way that you administer, is that it's not a reliance. I always get this really deep feeling. It's not a reliance on the energies, but it is a way to navigate and utilize them, to move forward and to at least avoid trouble. And I think that's very interesting. I also think that, you're talking about that high-speed chase. I was actually in a bank robbery once. Actually what I would say is that I was leaving the bank and this man was running up and he had a ski mask on, or like a lower mask thing on. And I thought, and I'm so naive sometimes. I'm so kind of on another planet sometimes, but I looked at him as I was leaving the glass door and I thought, it's really hot outside to be wearing that, because people wear weird stuff in Seattle. And I thought, that is really strange it's so hot outside. And then I realized what was happening a split second later. And, I was able to leave and not bring any attention to myself. He actually brushed my shoulder as he went in and pulled his gun out. And the door was closing when I heard everyone on the floor. And I got into the car and my friend and I just drove away quickly and called 911. And the reason I bring that up is because now thinking about this mask situation and the ways in which we are being, the desperation of the old energy and it wanting to convince people at the very end of everything now that they are to blame for all of this, that all of the people that they've been convinced to wear this mask, that now when I go out there, I just see a bunch of bank robbers. Like it kind of reminds me of that. And I think that is not an accident. I think that the turning on each other in families and in communities and these visual cues of no one can be trusted because you cannot see who's behind the mask. They must be a criminal. And also the utilization of that anonymity to do things that are not okay out there. I just had something happen this weekend that was very strange. But to do that and sort of have that road rage, but behind a mask, as all of these energies sort of amp up and emotions well up, that this is the time for us to understand that these energies are at play. And you're very correct. I mean, you are very, very accurate in saying that there are people that know how this works and they're using it for ill. And we need to be aware of that, but more so we need to be aware of how our faith is so that we use our energy, which is the ultimate gift that we've been given, our own bodies, our own souls, to do what is right, to do what is good.
Yeah, I agree. And it's really now, with seeing everything coming to a head and everything being in such limbo right now, coming into the weekend, I was looking at the energetics for the weekend, and tomorrow we'll see people's emotions begin to ramp up, and I think we're going to have some announcements tomorrow and to be aware. But the thing really about this is, yes, this is happening now and all, but that's the great thing. It's happening now. We want this. We want this. Let's get this over with. Let's move on. Everybody can see. Everybody has the opportunity to see if they want to look. And if they don't, that's cool too. Because you know what? It's freedom of speech over here in this country. So nobody worry about this because we're taking care of this here. If there's any doubt that patriots are uniting, I mean, they are. If you can dig through and you've got sources that haven't been censored yet, or you can follow where they've gone, you can see that people are very much organized and coming back with this. And seeing the theft that's going on. This is a black moon, Neptune kind of thing that's happening. What we're going into is supportive for the highest and best for humanity. That's why they're doing this now, because it's their last opportunity, because the giant rectification is coming. So it's good news, really.
Yes. You know, I was telling to our listeners, I was telling Laura and Christine before we did the interview here, interview, if you will. We were talking together. I actually found something today I'm going to share with everyone. A lot of people are very upset. What's going to happen? What's going on? I mentioned today in PIR, and I think I even talked about it yesterday. You know, it had dawned on me, and I was aware of the fact that 2 years ago, during the midterm elections here in the United States, after seeing what happened in 2016, the presidential election where Donald Trump was elected, the reason they never thought that Hillary Clinton, would lose, because they had a huge voter fraud thing that was going on and had been going on for decades, and they were becoming more emboldened and more callous with it. James O'Keefe of Project Veritas had done a lot of exposés on it, caught a lot of people. I mean, directors of like voting districts and stuff talking about how they bus people around to different places to multiple vote, and all these different things that he had uncovered, and he's uncovering more right now, and all of these leaks are coming out. But you know, in the midterm elections 2 years ago, I'd remembered that President Trump had ordered Department of Homeland Security to launch an investigation into voter irregularities and voter fraud. And they did this entire investigation with full authority and power of the federal government. They did a lot of it behind scenes, and they were supposed to release the results of that in December of that year, and they never did. And they just stopped talking about it. And I wondered then, I'm like, wait a minute. You know, there's voter fraud out there. There's voter irregularities. And I mean, some of it was very blatant during the midterm elections, and they didn't say anything. And I had speculated that, you know what, I think they're possibly going to wait till they see the whites of their eyes. Christine and I were talking about it in the twist, the entire concept of that. And they held all that information, and it was being speculated by many people, myself included, that possibly this was being allowed to happen so they could go after these people. I use the analogy today. President Trump is always about draining the swamp. And people said, you know, how come nothing's happening? He's done a few things, but the problem with the swamp is, you know, you can pump it out, you can dig a trench, you can drain it out, but whatever's feeding that swamp must be stopped to effectively make it go away. And what was feeding this swamp was voter fraud. And it's been going on, and it's becoming more rampant. Now, all the irregularities that everyone's been seeing, is very aware of, and just like very shocked with, you know, we're out there. But I actually found evidence of what we were talking about and speculating about right before we did this recording. And what this is, you actually have a Department of Homeland Security news release, and the release is not public. And the person who put this out, he says, I can share the link all I want, and unless you have an AP one-wire account, though, through your employer, you simply will not be able to view it. Says nobody else will allow this to go public either, so I decided to leak it, and we deserve to know what's going on. And it goes to treeofliberty.me is the link, I believe. But yeah, but there's a lot of other things behind that. Anyway, I'm going to real quickly just run right down through here. And what this is, these AP releases go out to news agencies. Let me explain it a little bit. It says The Hill, as seen in the clipping below, the verified Department of Homeland Security's account in the Associated Press One-Wire Content Accumulation Service speaks about the DHS's election audit and how it determined sharp inaccuracies in the election in favor of Joe Biden. Says before we dive into this post on One Wire, we need to discuss a few things. And let me read this so everyone understands what I'm talking about here. OneWire is the name of a service that connects agencies and reporters from across the planet together. Their job is simple: make a platform that makes it easy to share information between verified sources in order to cut down misinformation, hence the name Associated Press and OneWire. OneWire can only be accessed by content providers and sharing partners in the news networks in the United States and abroad. This is a paid service. But anyway, this person has access to it, and they put this out. So basically, this is what the Department of Homeland Security's press release was that none of the media is covering. Okay, this was hidden by the AP. Now they can see it and they've read it. Now all the mainstream media, head people who manage these news feeds, they've seen this, people, what I'm about to read to you, and they've known about this. And it came out on November 4th. Anyway, again, this release is not public, and the person who did this can share the link, all that he wanted, and you can share it also, but you cannot access the actual article on their site. So let me read this. This was November 4th, 2020. DHS announces election audit sting after contentious U.S. election sparks confusion and outrage from election skeptics. November 4th. In a stunning turn of events, the Department of Homeland Security announced that there was a federal government sting planned and executed for this election. It was established that this was intentional to determine the margin of fraud in the election system. With confusion in the election results as it is, the amount of fraud identifiers found in this sting is staggering. More than 14 million ballots have been reviewed nationwide for the Department of Homeland Security's new election countermeasure. And as of 7:18 p.m. EST, 80% of the ballots have failed ballot integrity checks under this measure. A debrief of the election countermeasures from the Department of Homeland Security can be found below. And it goes on to say the highest frequency of those non-marked ballots is coming from Arizona and Michigan, where over 48% of counted ballots did not contain this watermark. These votes are overwhelmingly supportive of Democratic candidate Joseph Biden. This election countermeasure was not endorsed or briefed with the president or candidate Biden. This was a background audit that has been planned since as early as May 2018. In this scenario, it is too certain to tell what the results of this audit, or too soon to tell what the results of this audit will tell us to do. But again, what it was they had, what they're saying was there was a watermark or some type of marker that they had purposely placed in these ballots, and then an identifier, a special identifier, and which means they could quickly ascertain if ballots were true, authentic or fake. And again, this was on election night. They had already found 14 millions had been reviewed, and 80% had failed the ballot integrity check. So,
wow.
yeah, and I sent Christine and Laura this link to this also again. And so that's confirmation of what we knew. This was a sting, Patriots. This was a sting. And like Laura said, they're going down. So don't be stressed by this. Do not let everything you're seeing in the news or what your friends are saying really get you down or stress you out. This is following true to the course. Like Laura Walker said, when was that? Oh, that's right. Since 2015, she started talking about this. They're going down right now, and this will promote. This might promote some violence, in the streets. We know they have that planned out. Whenever President Trump is announced as the winner of this election, which he clearly was. But this voter fraud that has been rampant in this nation for decades must be cleaned up so our government can get back to true form and people with integrity. And I said this morning, Christine and Laura, I said, if we had true, honest elections, almost everybody in Washington wouldn't be reelected. I mean, many of them would. But seriously, in the next election we have, if we have true election reforms, let me give somebody a tip right now. I usually don't give monetary advice or business advice because I'm not qualified to do so, but I'm going to do it anyway right now. If we get election countermeasures and voter ID and all of these reforms passed, if you go to Washington, D.C. during the next election, right before, and open a moving company, you will make a mint, because there will be people bailing out of apartments there and going back to their home states who haven't been home in decades. They're going to clear that place out.
Yeah, I mean, they're there because they're there because they get paid to lie.
Exactly. Paid liars.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're paid liars. I mean, they're worse than and I heard you guys talk about it too, and we've talked about it before, the mob boss wife. What? Oh, what? Oh, I didn't know he was killing people. Oh my God. Oh, protection, please. Yes, divorce. And yet she's moved all the money into offshore accounts and she's ready to flee. And then, it's just not going to happen like that. These people are going to answer. They're going to have to answer for what they've done. And I love that there's so many different ways that this happens. I remember hearing about the hydroxychloroquine being very detrimental and even deathly to people who are drinking adrenochrome.
Yeah, isn't it interesting, all the little facets and the ways that all
You
of
talk
this
about
is
a
happening.
sting. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, I didn't know. Am I still?
Yeah,
live
you
here?
are. No, I just said, let's talk about a sting.
Yeah, really, right?
Yeah, I just was 6 years old right there, but I'm sorry. Go ahead, Laura.
I was just going to say, there's just how do you even explain? I mean, how can you explain all of the facets of this and the interconnectivity that counters their interlocking directorates and everything else that ties their system together? That's a higher force at work, and I think that's kind of proof of it.
For sure. And even if there could be some comprehensive explanation given to the public at this time about it, why would they do that? Why would Donald Trump do that and the administration do it? We're not under Obama telling the whole world when we're going to leave the Middle East, what day and hour. I mean, why would you do that? You just can't expect that. This is war. And in war, you do not give every single person the information of how your tactics are to win it.
Exactly. And that's why, again, it's the until you see the whites of their eyes scenario, and I have been wondering because, I notice things, I remember things, and I remember that report. I was really anticipating it. And 2 years ago, oh, this is going to be good. And they went silent. Like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And now we see why. They held that, they found out, they got on the inside. And there have been some rumors, people saying that they actually put people on the inside. And I would see that because that's what the federal agencies do. If they have a criminal organization, they want to infiltrate it. They want to put somebody in as a member. Hey, I'm one of you. What's up? That's what they do. Agents that'll go in, undercover and infiltrate criminal organizations. So I will guarantee you all across this country, especially in these hotbeds of corruption that they had found in fraud 2 years ago, more than likely there were at least one, possibly two inside agents inside of all of these places. If James O'Keefe and his guys who aren't even pros can do this at Google and Twitter and in CNN and all these places and get in close and get all this confidential stuff that Project Veritas has put out, what do you think seasoned professional agents who do this stuff for a living could do? They're in there. So I think this is going to come to a head, and it's not just going to be one person's word against another or a couple whistleblowers. I think they're going to have video evidence, they're going to have audio evidence, and it's all going to be submitted, and it's going to be done as, like this article says, a sting operation.
Yeah, I think it's going to take years to digest just how much was done. I think, if you were able to access some of that information, which I think we will, I think we'll have disclosure, at least to some degree about it. But, but it will take years for us to digest everything, if we were interested in digging into it that deeply. And I want to say too, along those same lines, Phoenix, the thing is that you've had these people who spent now, close to $70 million trying to find the dirt on Donald Trump and his family. And these are the best attorneys in our country, possibly the world. Politician attorneys who are just hell-bent for leather and wanting to find the blood that they can hang him on. And the deal is they found nothing. And I'm telling you that $70 million or more is like, there is no amount of money that will keep the information that is coming about the Bidens, about the rest of the Clinton stuff, the Obama stuff, all of the cooperatives of the elites around the world who have done evil. There is no amount of money that is going to keep that information away from the public.
Absolutely not. It's coming out right now and has been coming out during the election. Even election night, there was still Hunter Biden pictures and information coming out. I mean, it's really crazy. Their entire family. And see, the concept, the absolute insanity of all of this. I saw a thing they tried to push in the news. I guess they are. Joe Biden, it looks like he has gotten more votes and more popular votes than any president in the history of the United States, which makes him the most popular president that's ever been in an election. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. People, we're talking about a guy who couldn't muster 10 people to come see him. I mean, the insanity that they're trying to push on the people. I keep going back to this, the old Monty Python skit of the parrot. You guys remember that? Where
Yes.
he buys a parrot and he goes, I'd like to return this parrot. He goes, why? He goes, it's dead. He goes, oh, no, it's not dead. He's just sleeping. You know, I mean, it's like so ludicrous, like so insane. And it's like the media is the pet shop owner. You know, it's like, oh, no. Joe Biden's not dead. He's just sleeping. You know, it's just crazy what they're trying to push. But you know,
because truth, you know, lies are the new truth, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And the other, I love the old quote too. You know, in the land of lies, truth is treason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. And that's precisely what is going on that we are finding. I mean, you know, let's just look at that tracer stuff again, you know, that you drink to find out where the you know, the cells that are needing to be cleaned out of the body. Well, I mean, do you think that they warn those mutated cells, hey, we're coming into town, you might want to go to another part of the body so that we don't target you? No, this is all, we have to have at least some amount of trust. And the way that we can do that just on a completely earthly level is look at our president's track record. Promises made, promises kept. And, you know, I think that that's a nice way of saying it, but in other administrations, the promises were straight up, bold-faced lies. And so our president didn't lie. And when he says it's going to get cleaned up, it's going to get cleaned up. And he, you know, he listens to all of our employer, God. And that's where that's going. But when you take God out of the entire equation and you know, let's just put it all in the Vitamix, right? Take away God, put in the mind control, the counterfeit life, the communism, the focusing on the wrong enemy, assessed by the wrong people, funded hard, like unbelievably astronomical amounts of money. Throw in some big pharmaceuticals, bad food, horrible movies, theta wave feeding into your mind in a hypnotic way all of the terrible things that you see in movies, zombies, vampires, you know, prepping you. And then you blend that up and you drink it and you can't figure out which ingredient is doing it to you. And you just simply have to walk away from that. You have to walk away from drinking the media and believing that stuff and opening yourself to perhaps there is another way than what you have been taught. There is another set of information that perhaps you weren't being fed because it's to the benefit of those who would like to include you, not as a technology user, but as being used by and becoming part of technology to serve those people who don't even want to bother with manipulating you. And that's really, you know, those are the things that we know about. There's so much we don't know about. Or as Jill in Arizona, who was on the call last night, pointed out, you know, what if this was a sting operation and now you've confirmed it? There are things that we can know, and there are things that we're not going to be able to. We have to have some amount of trust, and we have to go and fund that and do our vetting so that we can stand ready, because they're going to come at it, as you say, Laura, with everything they've got, because this really is, these are the final moments for them to do that.
Yeah, they're banking on the belief that we have an inability to endure, or that we have an attention span that is still capable of functioning, longer than one news cycle, and people wanting this to be resolved. People as humans, we don't like conflict naturally. We want it kind of be everybody, kind of get it over with. It's really, now it's time for us to do our part. No matter what side anybody is on, need to be speaking up for your speech and for your vote. And I think that we need to be calling Congress and talking with with the senators and saying, why aren't you standing up? What are you doing, about this? And we have to push them, because we are conditioned to sit and wait for them. There's an energetic in the Sabian symbols this weekend. It's a woman waiting for a sailboat. So waiting for the ship to come in. That's not the way it is anymore. This is the rebirth of the United States of America. Okay. That means we go back to, we are active in our government, in our republic. We aren't, the way that we've been conditioned to just let everyone else take care of it and stay in Congress for 30 plus years. It's, that doesn't work anymore. No one wants that anymore. And it's so absurd. It's so absurd that the way that they will try to dismiss everything as a conspiracy theory, with the Sharpie ink. And now they're going to just try to lump all of this, what Phoenix was talking about in the press release that was not covered, that was just buried. It's now that it's our job now to be grown-ups and see beyond the cognitive dissonance and the brainwashing of what's happening right now, which is, oh, well, Trump needs to concede and show defeat gracefully. It's just like, let's jump to this now, because we think that you people don't have any attention span. And it's just not that way anymore. And I believe they're getting ready to find that out.
I just saw something that President Trump was to speak at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, which is like 10 minutes ago while we're doing this recording. I have no idea what he's going to be saying, but I don't think he's made an official thing. I'm going to run over to Twitter.
Well, he's my next interview, so, he hasn't said anything yet.
Well, they're banning him on Twitter too. And,
but that's a badge of honor. That is a badge of
Yeah.
honor to be banned right now.
Yeah.
Yes, this just in, President Trump delivers remarks at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time as votes continue to be counted in key states across the country. Yeah, I wonder what he's going to say. But this is all a live and fluid situation, and is in action with everything we're talking about right now. This is playing out all over the world, and especially right here in the United States.
We have to remember too that this is war. And whatever we think that war is, whether we think it's an inconvenience, Laura, you said, well, those things don't work anymore. Well, they never worked. That's why we're in the mess we're in. They never worked. And so the falsity of that they could have served us at some time, the only thing they served was our insecurities and us not believing about who we were and who we are and who we can be. Those lies are all lies from the devil, from the pit of hell. And the entire focus that I really loved that Donald Trump, that our president brought up post rallies, all the rallies were over. And when he spoke and he said, success will bring us together. Success will bring us together. And it brought us together before the China virus, and it will bring us together again. Because nobody wants to prepare and fight and be at war right now. We have to be very clear that war is not inconvenience. It truly is sacrifice. It means that you do things and you stand up and you speak and you walk and you speak and you walk and you speak and you do. Because This isn't a time for us to let other people do it. We cannot possibly spend our time thinking that Donald Trump is going to solve all these problems, because he can't. It is literally impossible. We have to be busy in our homes, in our families, in our relationships, in our cities. And you just brought up, we should be calling our congressmen, congresswomen. We should be making calls to our local politicians, to our city councils. This is the time to realize, I've heard, I have to say this, I just heard, a few people say, well, I voted for the president, but, I didn't really bother with the rest of it. How do you think we got here? All of that stuff builds that up to that point, or shall I say down to that point. And so if we are to have a greater, this country is going to be successful. United States of America is going to be a roaring beast after all of this. And if we want to be part of that, this is our time to change what we can in our own lives in a micro way, because that thing that is coming, it cannot be stopped. And the success of the United States of America will not be allayed. It will not be put aside. And it's just time for everybody to know that. And think about what you value. I'm not a gun aficionado. I'm not like I want a bunch of camouflage and all that. I don't really care about all that stuff. I care about what I value. And if I have to do those things, great, I will. I will do what I have to do as a responsible citizen. We have to get in touch with what we value. And then we must take the steps, whether we like them or not, to protect that. Otherwise, we will not have that experience.
Very true. Very true.
Yes.
I tell you what, it's heating up. This is very interesting. I was watching some of the live feeds while you're talking there. This is getting pretty crazy. Steve Bannon of the War Room, right at 6:30 when the president was ready to speak or getting ready to speak. They removed him from Twitter. They blocked his account, and YouTube has removed Steve Bannon's War Room account from YouTube. And he's been vital reporting in the scamdemic, the plandemic, and also what's going on with this election fraud. So they are fighting hard, Laura, just like you said. They're going to go for it. And I was reading some feeds here a second ago. They actually had CNN call the president a liar before he spoke, and they actually made a statement. I'm not sure it was CNN, but one of the news agencies said, what you're about to hear is possibly hazardous to democracy and not true. And the news agency actually said that before the president is even speaking. They're pulling out all the stops, people.
Well, honestly, if you want to know the truth, and you want to keep listening to mainstream media, as the American public, if you want to know the truth, all you got to do is turn on any of these stations and just know that it's the opposite.
It's so true.
That's the ultimate
opposite.
life straw. You just put that life straw in the toilet, you can drink, because it will purify what comes out. And if you want to purify what you're listening to, you just count on it being the opposite of the truth, and you'll know the truth.
Yeah, whatever they accuse others of is really what they're doing, and that's always their MO.
Sure, Ukraine, all that stuff. It's all, I know you are, but what am I? I know you are, but what am I?
Mm-hmm.
It's all of that. It's all playing games, and somewhere, there are people laughing, just sitting in a room in the dark with their little algorithms and their screens and all their stuff, and they're laughing. So, we can get all worked up about not having access to something at the grocery store, or we can know that that's happening and know that that is the lie and that's the falsity. And we need to stay in the light. We need to stay in the light. We need to stay in the light. You have to stay in the light. You cannot go out into the darkness and expect to find the light there.
Well, this is far more than 3% now. There's
oh yeah.
I wouldn't even venture a guess of what that really is. It's a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're reaching that tipping point in a big way, Laura.
Mm-hmm.
And and you know what? It's the truth that's coming out. And this is the Great Awakening. It was tagged by Q as the Great Awakening, and we're seeing this. It's physical. It's happening amongst people, families. Is there division? Yes. But that's part of the process. because to be quite factual and truthful, not everybody's going to be okay. And that's just the way it is. You can give out all the participation trophies you want, but it isn't one of those. Stop laughing at me. You can give out all those trophies you want, but this isn't the case with this. Not everybody's going to be okay. And it's going to be hard for people. We have to realize that of our families, our friends around us, our community. Because this is going to be a really, literally, a hard red pill to swallow for people when this truth comes out, because they are so brainwashed.
I
And
think it was the that said the bitterest pill, and it's a great song. And
yeah,
the other song I was thinking of when you were talking is, it's all right, but it's not okay. Whitney Houston, right? I mean, that's really what's going to happen. This is all going to be all right because God wins, but it may not be okay for you.
right, very true.
And
Very
God
true.
help you if you're Bobby Brown. God help you.
Hey, Laura, right now, what are the energies right now as we're doing this? It's like 6:48 as we're recording this. Of course, it'll be listened to later on
Let's
the
see.
5th of November. What's happening? Because, and you were saying you thought this Friday things were going to pop off. And,
Mm-hmm.
here we are late Thursday evening.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're about to see some of this really start to come out and heat up.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a feeling they were going to wait until Friday to, try to like push their agenda or call it for Biden tomorrow, because people have kind of been resting up, building up. They've got bricks,
Well, that
just,
would explain why POTUS is doing this now, because
hmm
he wants to get ahead of that, because he realizes that their plan also possibly.
right. And, they've staged for rioting and destruction in different places. And I hope that I know that sometimes this happens, but, if there's some bricks laying around, if you're in one of the big cities and there's bricks there, a big pile of them, go get a truck with some of your buds and go, get rid of the bricks. I mean,
Fire pit.
yeah, exactly. But, this isn't this. I guess what I want to say is everybody needs to be, I don't think this is anything, great revelation, but wake up. This is happening right now. And it's not the time where you to sit and wait to be told what to do. Everyone needs to get their common sense like front and center right now. And what is happening astrologically right now, Phoenix, is the moon is in Cancer, and it is getting ready to square Mars, which is retrograde. Mars retrograde is a really big deal because that's our energy. And so Mars has been retrograde for several weeks, a couple months. And that energy has just been building and building and building. Well, it's getting ready to go direct. Mars is. And when a planet goes direct, it's like a slingshot just being like shot forward. Well, right now the moon, and really to have anything happen with astrology, you can have different planets, doing things, but what really makes things happen is the moon. It's the catalyst for everything to happen. So the moon is getting ready to activate Mars. So that's that warrior energy. It's all that anger. It's everything that's kind of been bubbling under the surface, that everybody's been like, pregnant pause basically, which is not the way we need to be. We need to not be, waiting. We don't need to be, only focused on our reactions. We need to be proactive. So there's more to this than just waiting to see what they do and then, we take action. We need to be forward motion. But what's going to happen overnight is the energy is going to build for the moon to oppose the mega planets in Capricorn that have caused the structural transformation and the end of the New World Order: Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto in Capricorn. So the moon is going to hit all that tomorrow. And it's going to just force it's an energetic thing. It's frequency. We've got the energetics of Jupiter at, let's see how my memory does here. The general accepts defeat gracefully. We have Pluto at a soldier receiving 2 awards for bravery in combat. And then Saturn is at a mountain pilgrimage. All right. So we're going to have all of those all of that energetic that's caused everything that's happened in 2020 is going to be reactivated tomorrow. Actually, right now, starting with the activation of Mars, and then it'll build. In addition to that, Venus is opposite Mars. And so this is pulling in people's relationships, and people are going to band together. There'll be more splitting apart too from it. But we also are going into a grand trine with the Sun, the Moon, and Neptune starting tomorrow and Saturday. This is when why we're seeing the massive delusion of, just the complete gaslighting of the country with saying, oh no, it's not like this, it's this way. All of the lies and the deception, all of that is Neptune. It's activated the chart of the USA's chart, basically the birth chart of the USA, has a black moon Neptune conjunction. And it's always been about the hidden hand. Well, Neptune's there now, and it's basically pulling all of the curtain and all of the veil off of that. So it's timely. It's a big, big deal. And it's really just what I want to say about that is we are taking control of that energetic. It's a supported energetic now for the Fellowship of Humanity. And that's what will happen.
Mm.
Very cool.
Wow.
Very powerful too. And Mercury goes direct, like you said, on Friday the 13th. And I've taken
Mars, yeah.
Excuse me. I always transpose those two. Mars. I know.
Me too. Actually, I'm worse. I'll just say retrograde or direct, and it's the other one. Like, it's just like, it's the same to me. So
and here's
it's
the
a
thing.
lot.
I'm looking at my calendar and I've got it marked right on there, and I say Mercury instead of Mars, it's Mars. But on Friday the 13th, I think there's significance about the Templars. And on the 12th, the planets, like you were saying, that are really charging this up, with Jupiter conjuncting with Pluto on the 12th. Yeah. And then on the 15th, that's Sunday. So we have a lot of energy building up here. Within 7 days, we have a new moon on the 15th. So it's really going to come to a head. Now, I just had an alert come through while you were talking, Laura, that allegedly President Trump, as he's speaking live right now while we're doing this interview, has declared himself the winner, basically, and talked about election interference and how possibly, I'm reading something here, that possibly the media polling and what the media has been doing could be classified legally as election interference.
Yeah. Wow. Need to go check all that out. And I do need to go and write the report for tomorrow. So I'm probably going to have to jump off.
Well, this has been really great. I really appreciate you guys being on today. What an auspicious time. There's so many elements that are coming together that, we couldn't possibly have orchestrated or thought of architectured that ourselves. So we know that God wins, God's in control. And as we move through this time, you're absolutely right, Laura, we need to be looking at where we can do and move things forward, because that's the only way, that we're going to be connected to this. And there's nothing stopping what's coming, but we must look at where we can actually be a part of it to move it proactively forward.
Well, they hate our humanity. And so I say, be more human.
Yeah, be more human. Sounds
yep.
good.
Lean into God. Well, thank you so much, you guys. And let's go listen to see what our president has said. And we're going to talk again soon. This has been so great. I know the listeners are going to appreciate it. And once again, the one thing that everybody can do is fund the things that actually fund you. Take care of that, because you want to wake up tomorrow and have a free country, and you want to have the people that are serving you able to serve you again. Thanks so much, you guys. Have a great night. God bless you, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
All right. Good night.
Good night. Bye-bye.